My name is Maya Thompson. I'm 29, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. My story is not easy to tell, but it is one I've carried for years, locked up like a secret box that no one dared to open. To my family, I've always been the disappointment, the one who never followed the rules, never did what was expected. My brother, Adam, the lawyer in New York, is my parents' pride. My sister, Chloe, the banker's wife with her pearls and her spotless Instagram, is their joy. And me? I was the drifter, the one who never settled down. At family gatherings, the label was always there, sharp as a knife. Maya, still figuring things out? Someone would ask with a smile that wasn't a smile at all. Every Thanksgiving felt like a trial, with me on the witness stand. My clothes, my car, my choices, everything was questioned. What they never knew was that while they mocked me, I was quietly building something. I had started with nothing, just grit and a tiny rental house I flipped when I was 21. One project led to another. Today, my portfolio stretches across the state. Apartments, duplexes, a shopping plaza, even an office tower. My name isn't on the signs, LLCs protect me, but every brick belongs to me. And yet, when I go home, I wear old jeans. I drive my beat-up Corolla. I let them think I'm scraping by, because part of me is still that young girl who remembers the night Dad said, "Maya, you will regret this path. You'll come crawling back." But this year, a single phone call would change everything. Mom had fallen. Dad's mind was slipping, and Adam had called for a family meeting. This time, I wasn't sure I could keep my secret much longer. The nickname started small, the family disappointment. At first, I laughed it off, pretending it didn't sting, but it stuck, like glue. I'd hear it whispered after I left a room. She could have been something. She wasted her potential. My parents never corrected it. Maybe because, in their eyes, it was true. I still remember one Christmas dinner. Adam bragged about his law firm's new Manhattan office. Chloe glowed while talking about her trip to Italy with her husband. Then came me. "So, Maya?" Mom asked. "Still doing odd jobs?" I had just closed on a $5 million apartment complex the week before, but I smiled and nodded. "Yeah, odd jobs." Dad sighed loudly, shaking his head. What hurt most wasn't their judgment. It was their pride in tearing me down. Chloe once bought me a gift card for cheap clothing. "So you can dress up for interviews," she said sweetly. Adam once slipped me a $20 bill like I was a teenager. "Get yourself a meal," he whispered. But betrayal cut deepest the year I tried to share good news. I told them I was working on a big project downtown. Adam laughed. "You? Don't kid yourself. Leave serious work to people who know what they're doing." I never mentioned my business again. That's when I made my choice. I would hide everything. My wealth, my properties, my success. It would all stay invisible. Let them think I was lost. Let them underestimate me. Because one day, I promised myself, the truth would come out. And when Adam's voice came through the phone last week, tight, annoyed, commanding me to come home and bring what little you can, I knew that day was closer than ever. When I left home at 19, I carried two things, a duffel bag and my father's words. "You'll come crawling back within 6 months." I never did. Life was brutal at first. I rented a tiny studio with mold on the ceiling. I worked nights at a diner and spent days learning everything about real estate. I shadowed brokers, read books, watched tutorials. People laughed when I said I wanted to own properties. Dream smaller, they told me. My first break came when an elderly woman I served pancakes to every week mentioned she was selling her late brother's house. No one wanted it. It was falling apart. I scraped together every dollar, begged for a loan, and bought it. I fixed it with my own hands. When I sold it 6 months later, the profit was more than I'd made in 2 years of work. That was the spark. I reinvested every cent. Duplexes, foreclosures, small apartment buildings, each project bigger than the last, each success hidden from my family. But hiding had a cost. I couldn't bring anyone home. I couldn't post online. When Mom called, I'd downplay everything. I'm fine, just getting by. When Chloe texted, need me to send clothes, I'd reply, no, I'm okay. The truth grew heavy, but I carried it. Until last month. That's when the doctor called. Dad's dementia was worsening fast. Mom had broken her hip. Care was expensive. Too expensive for their retirement. And that's when Adam called. His voice was sharp. We need a family meeting. Chloe and I will handle most, but you need to contribute. Whatever you can. Whatever I can. He had no idea. I could cover every penny. The question was, should I? The drive back to Cedarwood, my hometown, always filled me with strange feelings. Nostalgia mixed with dread. The same gas station. The same cracked sidewalks. The same White House with blue shutters that had once felt like a prison. I pulled up in my old Corolla, the same one they'd mocked years ago. The car was a prop, really. My garage in Charlotte holds a Tesla, but here, appearances mattered. I had to look like the family disappointment. The door swung open before I even knocked. Adam stood there in a pressed suit, at home, on a Saturday. He smirked. Finally, did your bus run late? Inside, the house smelled of lemon cleaner and old books. Mom shuffled in with her walker, smiling weakly. Maya, sweetheart. You look healthy, the word people use when they can't say successful. Dad sat silent in his chair, eyes far away. Adam wasted no time. The meeting's tomorrow at 9. Don't be late. We'll go over costs, options. It's not cheap, Maya. We'll need everyone to pitch in. Chloe arrived an hour later, dressed like she walked out of a magazine. Her husband, Ryan, carried bags of gifts. For Mom and Dad, she announced, handing Dad a silk tie he wouldn't even remember. Then she turned to me, pressing a small package into my hands. Inside, a gift card for interview clothes. I thought it might help. The sting was sharp, but I smiled. Thanks. At dinner, Adam dominated the conversation with medical terms and care facilities. Chloe bragged about Ryan's promotion. When talk turned to me, it was with pity. You're doing freelance, right? Chloe asked. How's that working out? Enough to get by, I said calmly, though my heart hammered. Because tomorrow they'd learn the truth. That night, lying in my childhood bedroom, I stared at the ceiling, listening to the house creak. Memories came rushing back. Memories I'd buried deep. I remembered the day I told my parents I wasn't going to college. I wanted real estate, not lectures. Dad slammed his fist on the table. You're throwing your life away. You'll end up with nothing. Adam smirked. Chloe rolled her eyes. You'll regret this forever, Dad added. That sentence lived in my bones. I remembered another night, 5 years ago, Christmas Eve. Adam offered me rent money in front of everyone. "Don't be proud, Maya. Take it." My cheeks burned. What he didn't know was that I'd just bought a 20-unit apartment building cash. But I took his 20 and stuffed it in my pocket. Let him think he was saving me. Now, the same people who mocked me wanted me to pay whatever I could. They expected scraps. I wanted to laugh and scream at the same time. But instead, I picked up my phone. One call. That's all it took. "Yes," I whispered. "Tomorrow morning, be ready at 9. The person on the other end confirmed, their voice steady. Everything was arranged. As I hung up, I felt my pulse race. For years, I'd hidden. Tomorrow, the curtain would begin to fall. What they didn't know was that I wasn't just bringing money. I was bringing them face to face with the truth they'd ignored for a decade. The family disappointment was about to become the one person they never saw coming. The morning sun cut through the curtains as I pulled on a plain sweater and old jeans. I tied my hair back in a ponytail, slipping into the role they expected. My duffel bag sat by the door. Faded, patched, a lie I had carried for years. I could have arrived in a sleek car, but instead, I slid into the Corolla. Its engine coughed like it was on its last breath. Driving into town, I passed one of my own properties, a shopping center with a gleaming grocery store, coffee shop, and gym. Nobody knew I owned it. Nobody would guess. When I pulled into my parents' driveway, Adam was waiting with his arms crossed. "You made it," he said, eyeing the car. I wasn't sure it'd survive the trip. Inside, Chloe handed me a coffee. "You must be exhausted. Travel is hard when you can't just fly in." Her laugh was sharp. I forced a smile. "This works for me." At the kitchen table, Adam pulled out a stack of papers. "We'll go through expenses tomorrow. But Maya, if you can't contribute much, it's fine. Nobody's expecting miracles." Nobody. The word hit me harder than he knew. That night, I unpacked in silence, staring at my duffel bag. They saw a woman scraping by. What they didn't see was the estate deed folded in my jacket pocket. The house I'd bought in cash 6 months ago, only 20 minutes from here. Tomorrow, I thought, gripping the paper. Tomorrow, the cracks in their story would begin to show. At breakfast, Adam launched into his usual performance. "Maya," he said between bites of toast, "I know my firm's hiring. Maybe I could get you in as an admin. It's not glamorous, but at least you'd have stability." I sipped my coffee, tasting bitterness. "Thanks, I'll think about it," Chloe chimed in. "And I picked up something for you." She reached into a glossy shopping bag and handed me a box. Inside was a blazer, clearly secondhand. "So you look professional for interviews." I thought it'd help. Her tone was sweet, but her eyes told the truth. It was pity dressed up as kindness. "Very thoughtful," I said, folding the fabric carefully, as though I didn't want to scream. Adam leaned back. "See? We're all trying to help you." The betrayal cut deep. Not because of the blazer, but because neither of them had ever once asked about my real life. Not one question. Not 1 ounce of curiosity. Later, in the living room, Mom patted my hand. "You know, honey, there's no shame in leaning on family. You've always been different, but we'll take care of you." Different. Always different. As I tucked the blazer back into the bag, Chloe whispered, "You're lucky, Maya. Not everyone has siblings willing to cover for them. I looked at her. "You're right," I said softly. "Not everyone is that lucky." What she didn't know was that in 48 hours, I'd show her just how unlucky she was to underestimate me. 8. That afternoon, memories came rushing back like a flood. I remembered being 19, telling my family I wanted to go into real estate. Adam laughed so hard he nearly choked. "Maya? You? That's hilarious. You don't even know how to balance a checkbook." Chloe leaned across the table. "Be serious. Why don't you just go to college like everyone else?" Dad ended it with his usual thunder. "This is nonsense. You're wasting your life. Mark my words. You'll regret it." I left that night with $200 and a broken heart. The next years were brutal. I patched walls, painted houses, cleaned toilets, anything to flip properties on a shoestring. My friends moved on with jobs and weddings. My siblings posted photos of their polished lives. And me, I was eating ramen in a drafty apartment. But with every flip, I grew stronger. Every profit, bigger. Until one day, I wasn't patching walls anymore. I was signing deeds on apartment complexes. Yet, none of that mattered in this house. To them, I was still that 19-year-old. Foolish and stubborn. At dinner, Chloe asked sweetly, "So, Maya, any projects? Or odd jobs, I guess?" "Just little things," I said. "Keeps me busy." She smiled, satisfied. That night, I lay awake, replaying Dad's words. "You'll regret this forever." But regret was not the word I carried. The word I carried was revenge. The dining table gleamed under the chandelier. Adam had ordered dinner from a catering service, a spread too perfect for this old house. Mom clapped her hands like a child. "Oh, Adam, always so generous." Conversation turned to achievements, as it always did. Adam bragged about his promotion. Chloe boasted about a fundraiser she hosted. Ryan described his new golf club. When their eyes turned to me, silence stretched. "So," Chloe said at last, "what are you doing these days?" Her pause was deliberate, like she was searching for a word that wouldn't sound insulting. "Freelance," I replied vaguely. "Small projects." Adam leaned forward. "You know, I know people who might need basic website work. It's not much, but it's steady. Could help you out." I stabbed my fork into mashed potatoes. "I'll think about it." Mom smiled, relief flooding her face. "See, Maya? Your brother is always looking out for you." The room buzzed with their voices, but all I heard was my own heartbeat. They saw me as charity, a burden. I looked around that table, the silk tie on Dad's lap, the pearls around Chloe, neck, Adam's designer watch, and for the first time, I wasn't angry. I was amused. Because tomorrow, all of it would crack, and I wondered if they'd even recognize me once the curtain lifted. The next morning, Adam set up his laptop in the living room. A binder thick with charts sat beside him. "We'll start with options for Mom and Dad's care," he announced. Chloe leaned in, nodding at every word. Ryan adjusted his tie, though we weren't in an office. I sat in the corner, the afterthought. Adam clicked through slides. Facility A offers memory care. Facility B has top medical staff. Facility C is more luxury, with a golf course for Dad. Mom's eyes widened at the price tags. "Oh my." Adam pressed on. "It's expensive, yes, but we'll divide it fairly. Chloe and I can cover most. Maya, his tone softened, patronizing. We know your situation is different. Just contribute what you can. A token amount. Even $500 a month would help. 500? Chloe repeated with a pitying look. That's manageable for her. Laughter bubbled in my chest, but I swallowed it. Instead, I nodded, quiet, we'll see, because they had no idea I could buy the entire facility outright. That evening, Chloe cornered me in the hallway. Don't feel bad, she whispered. Adam and I know you can't keep up. We'll cover the real costs. You can visit and help with errands. That way you still contribute. Her words dripped sugar, but the poison was clear. Thanks, I said softly. At dinner, Dad looked up suddenly, his voice cutting through the room. Maya, you still in that little apartment? The one with the loud neighbors? I hesitated. That apartment was 3 years gone. I now lived in a penthouse overlooking the skyline. Yes, I lied. Chloe laughed. Comfort is relative, right? Remember when Maya thought success meant buying name-brand cereal? Everyone chuckled. Heat crept up my neck. I looked down at my plate. But inside, something shifted, a cold clarity. They weren't just underestimating me, they were erasing me. And I decided, then and there, that I would erase their illusions in return. By the time dessert was served, I had made my choice. Adam tapped the binder. So, we'll finalize tomorrow. Chloe and I handle 85%. Maya, you manage the rest. The words were final, dismissive. I pushed back my chair. Excuse me. I need to make a quick call. Adam frowned. Now, we're discussing something serious. I ignored him, stepping onto the porch. My fingers shook as I dialed. Everything ready? I asked. On the other end, the voice was calm. Yes, arrival at 9 sharp. Front lawn. Perfect. I ended the call, slipping the phone back into my pocket. Inside, Chloe raised an eyebrow. Arranging another freelance gig? She asked sweetly. I smiled. Something like that. They thought they had me pinned. They thought they knew every corner of my life. But tomorrow morning, when the sound of blades cut through the sky, their entire world would tilt upside down. And for the first time in years, I would be the one smiling. At 9 on the dot, Adam dimmed the lights and opened his laptop. Charts and numbers filled the TV screen. We'll do this the right way, he said, like a judge. Chloe sat straight, pen ready. Ryan crossed his legs and tried to look important. I took the wobbly ottoman in the corner, the extra seat no one wanted. It fit their story of me so well. Adam clicked through slides. He spoke fast, stacking facts like bricks. Projected cost. Insurance gap. Out of pocket. Payment schedule. He loved the sound of order. He loved control even more. Mom watched, hands folded, eyes tired. Dad blinked at the screen and then at me, lost between both. Facility A, Adam said. Pictures of a new place flashed. Top-tier memory care. Waitlist is long, but we have connections. Then Facility B, with a glossy dining hall. Then Facility C, the luxury one by the golf course. Every slide showed a price that made Mom breathe in sharp. I stayed quiet. I took notes I didn't need. I watched the clock. 8:56. 8:58. 59. I could taste the edge of the moment like metal on my tongue. Adam closed a slide. In summary, we'll need equal commitment of time and unequal commitment of money. His eyes landed on me. Maya? We know your limits. No shame in that. Chloe turned, soft voice, hard eyes. You'll still be part of this, in your way. The room smelled like lemon cleaner and worry. Dad rubbed the arm of his chair. A tiny part of me wanted to shout everything. Another part told me to wait. Timing is a tool. Adam lifted a hand. Questions before we assign tasks? His tone said he didn't expect any. I looked at the door, then back at my family. I have one, I said. My voice sounded too calm. What if there's another path? Adam smiled like a teacher. There isn't. The clock hit 9. Adam cleared his throat. Let's talk roles. He wrote names on a pad. I'll handle legal and contracts. Chloe will manage medical coordination and social visits. Ryan will review the tax pieces. He paused, tapping his pen, then looked at me. Maya, you can help with errands, groceries, laundry, rides to appointments. You're flexible. It fits. Chloe nodded, pleased. And you're great with people. You could sit with Dad on tough days. Help Mom around the house. That's real support. Chores instead of checks, Ryan added, trying to make it sound kind. Every hand matters. Mom touched my knee. Only if you can, honey. My cheeks burned, but my face stayed still. They had built a smaller life for me, then asked me to live inside it. They wanted my time because they believed I had no money. They wanted my silence because they believed I had no voice. Okay, I said, and watched Adam relax. If that's what you think I can do. Adam smiled, relieved. Good. Then let's finalize the monthly split. Chloe and I will cover 85%. Maya, if you can manage $500 a month, that keeps you included without pressure. He waited for praise. He expected gratitude. He mistook control for care. I appreciate the thought, I said, steady, but I still think there's another option you missed. Chloe's laugh was feather-light. Maya, we toured everything. You didn't tour Cedar Ridge Memory and Wellness, I said. It's close. No public list. Better patient-to-staff ratios. Family suites, not halls. Adam frowned. That doesn't exist. It does, I said. He opened his mouth to correct me. The house trembled first. A soft rattle in the window glass, then a low thump rolled through the room, like distant thunder learning our names. What is that? Mom whispered, eyes wide. Chloe stood, hand on her pearl necklace. An earthquake? Adam went to the window and pulled the curtain. His mouth opened, then closed. He looked smaller than I had ever seen him. I rose from the ottoman. Before you say no again, I told him. Just listen. He didn't turn. What did you do? I told you. There was another path. The thump grew louder, steady as a drum. Framed pictures buzzed against the wall. A glass on the coffee table crawled toward the edge. Neighbors will call the police, Chloe said, voice thin. They won't need to, I said. It's cleared. Adam spun. Cleared? For landing, I said. Wind pressed against the house, a hand on the siding. The maple tree in the yard bent and shook. Its leaves flashed like fish scales in a rush of air. Dad blinked, then smiled in a way I hadn't seen in months, as if a memory had stepped back into place. I walked to the door. My body stopped shaking the moment my hand touched the knob. Fear had lived in this hallway for years. It could stay here. I would not. "Maya, don't," Adam said. "Whatever stunt this is—" "It isn't a stunt," I said, and opened the door. A sleek black helicopter dropped onto our front lawn, with a roar of air and light. Grass flattened in circles. The pilot lifted 2 fingers to his visor in a clean salute, then looked past Adam, straight at me. "Miss Thompson?" he called over the wind. "Yes," I answered. Behind me, Chloe gasped. "Miss Thompson? Tell me again," I said to Adam, voice calm. "What I can and can't do." The pilot set the helicopter to idle. The rotors slowed but held their dark halo in the air. Neighbors came to porches, and phones rose like flowers. The maple shed a few leaves that spun and stuck to the wet lawn. The pilot stepped down, crisp uniform, calm steps. He carried a headset and a folder. Landing exactly at 9, he said to me with a smile, "Per your request." "Thank you, Rick," I said. "We'll be quick." Mom swayed. Chloe grabbed her arm. "Sit, Mom," I said, guiding her back to the couch. Her hands trembled in mine. I kept my voice low, the way I talked to nervous tenants on move-in day. "You're okay." Adam stood between me and the door, trying to rebuild a wall out of air. "You can't just land a helicopter and rewrite reality." "I didn't rewrite reality," I said. "I stopped hiding it." He stared. "Whose helicopter is that?" "Mine today," I said. "And it's here for all of us." Ryan found his voice. "All of us?" I nodded. "We're going to Cedar Ridge." Adam laughed once. A sharp bark. "To the fake place you made up?" I opened the folder. Inside were letters on heavy paper, logoed, signed. Licensure, board minutes, audited reports, donor list. At the top, Cedar Ridge Memory and Wellness Foundation. Chair, Maya L. Thompson. I set the folder on the coffee table. The pages fanned like pale wings. Adam didn't reach for them. Chloe did. Her hand shook as she read the first line. "No," she whispered, eyes moving, breath catching. "No way." "It's real," I said. "I helped design it. I funded the first phase. I've held 2 beds for our parents since the day Dad's doctor called me. Family suite, garden access, private nurse who understands memory care, not just schedules." Adam looked from the papers to me, then to the helicopter, like the world refused to settle into one picture. "Come see," I said, and held out my hand. No one moved. I could feel the house listening with us. Dad blinked, then lifted his head. His voice came out clear, for once not fogged by the soft pull of forgetting. "My Maya," he said, a small smile breaking like sun. "You brought a bird." Something inside me cracked and healed at the same time. Chloe let the papers fall back to the table. "Why didn't you say anything?" she asked. But it sounded more like a plea than an attack. "Because every time I tried," I said, "you told me who I was instead." Mom's breath came fast. Her lips lost color. "I need water," she whispered. "No, I need—" Her eyes rolled. She slumped back. "Mom," Chloe cried. I slid an arm behind Mom's shoulders. "Feet up," I said, lowering her gently. "Ryan, pillow." He moved, pale and shaking. "Adam, water." Small sips. For a second, They followed without arguing, like all their scripts had run out of pages. Mom's color crept back. She blinked up at me. "I'm here," she said, embarrassed. "I'm fine." "You're okay," I said, squeezing her hand. "We'll go slow." Adam stood over us, water half spilled down the glass. His face was gray. You're the chair. You did this." "Yes," I said. "Years of saving, years of work. I built for people like Dad. For families like ours." He swallowed. "You hid it from us." "You didn't want to know me," I said. "You wanted to know your version." Wind tapped the window. The pilot checked his watch. I looked at my parents, then at my brother and sister. "We can fight here," I said softly. "Or we can step into a place I made for us." Dad lifted his hand, palm up like a boy asking for help. "Let's go see your bird," he said. I helped him stand. The room that had owned me for years shrank to its right size. "Bring the binder," I told Adam. "We'll compare numbers on the way." We moved as a small, unsure line through the doorway, Dad on my arm, Mom steady now, Chloe beside her, Adam clutching his binder like a shield, Ryan closing the back. The air outside smelled like cut grass and wind. The helicopter waited, a patient animal with its breath held. Rick lowered the steps. "Ms. Thompson," he called over the thrum. "Seats ready." Landing at Cedar Ridge confirmed. "Thank you," I said. He offered headsets. I fit one over Dad's ears. His eyes lit up like a kid at a county fair. "Loud," he said, delighted. "Loud," I agreed. Chloe hesitated at the steps. "I'm in a dress," she muttered, then shook her head at herself and climbed. Ryan followed, lips tight, eyes wide. Adam stood on the grass and stared at the machine, jaw set, binder pressed to his suit like it could stop the wind. "Come on," I said. He looked at me. Pride and panic fought in his face. I can't." He took a step, then another. "What if this is all a trick, Maya?" "Then you'll have a great story to tell," I said. "But it isn't, and you know it." He climbed. I turned to Mom. "You good?" She nodded, a small, brave smile. "I'm with my daughter." We buckled in. The cabin hummed. Rick gave a thumbs up. The ground leaned back. And then the house, the maple, the street. Though neighbors' porches all slid away like a page pulled from a book. Cedarwood turned into a patchwork below us, quiet and small. Chloe stared out the window, her hand over her mouth. Ryan whispered numbers to himself, like prayers. Adam looked at nothing, eyes wet, jaw hard. Dad watched the toy cars on the road and laughed. "Bird," he said again. Then, softer, like the thought had to be said before it could drift. "My Maya." I touched his hand. "I'm here, Dad." We banked toward the hills. Ahead, a cluster of new buildings curved around a garden. Glass, wood, sun. Cedar Ridge waited. "Welcome home," I said. The helicopter lowered onto a wide green lawn, bordered by oaks and walking paths. Cedar Ridge stretched in clean lines of wood and glass. Nothing like the sterile places Adam had shown. Residents strolled in gardens, not hallways. A fountain splashed in the courtyard. The landing pad gleamed. This was no trick. It was real. Solid. Undeniable. Rick opened the door. "Welcome to Cedar Ridge." Chloe stepped out first, gripping Ryan's hand. She looked around like she'd stepped into a painting. "This can't be," she whispered. "It is," I said, steady. "This is where our parents belong." Staff approached with calm smiles. "Miss Thompson," one said, bowing slightly, "everything is ready." Adam froze. "They know your name?" "Of course they do," I answered. "I sign their paychecks." We moved through the main hall. Light streamed from skylights. Art lined the walls. Soft music hummed. Patients laughed in a crafts room. The air smelled like lavender, not bleach. Mom's hand clutched mine tighter. "It feels like a home," she whispered, tears in her eyes. I guided them into the family suite reserved for my parents. 2 bedrooms, a small kitchen, a terrace with flowers. "Yours," I said. Adam finally found his voice. "You own this? All of this?" "I built it," I said, "for people like Dad. For families like us." He opened his binder with shaking hands. His printed charts and cold numbers looked small against the living room window that framed the garden. "You've been planning this behind our backs," Chloe said, but her voice broke in the middle. "Not behind your backs," I said softly. In spite of them, the silence was louder than the rotors had been. We sat in the suite, the binder spread open like a useless prop. Adam flipped pages that no longer mattered. His lips pressed thin, the weight of 10 years of assumptions grinding down. "You could have told us," he said at last. I met his eyes. "And would you have listened?" "The last time I tried, you laughed at me. The time before that, you offered me rent money." His face darkened. "We thought we were helping." "No," I said. "You thought I was failing. And you needed me to fail, so your choices would shine brighter." Chloe looked away. Her pearls gleamed, but her eyes were wet. "That's not fair." "It's true," I said. "Every pity gift, every backhanded comment, every time you cut me out of a real conversation, it told me exactly who you thought I was." Ryan cleared his throat. "You've hidden millions. That's betrayal too." I nodded slowly. "Maybe it is. But ask yourself why I hid it. Because every time I tried to show you who I was, you refused to see. So I stopped showing." Mom reached for my hand. "We never meant." "You did mean it," I said gently. "Not out of hate, out of habit, out of comfort." It was easier to call me the disappointment than admit you didn't understand me. Adam's binder slid off the table, papers scattering. His shoulders slumped. "You're right. We never saw you." The words hung in the air, fragile as glass. For the first time, Adam looked smaller than me. For the first time. I didn't feel like the disappointment at all. We walked through Cedar Ridge together. Staff greeting me by name, residents waving. Every corner told the truth Adam and Chloe had ignored for years. The therapy wing, the memory gardens, the library I'd funded in Dad's honor. They followed, silent, drinking it all in. Back in the garden, Adam finally broke. His voice cracked as he stared at the koi pond. "I hate my job." The words shocked even him. I hate the office, the hours, the ladder. I did everything right. Ivy League, corner office, the Hamptons house, and I wake up sick every morning. Silence. Even the birds seemed to pause. Chloe's grip on Ryan's hand tightened. "Adam," she whispered. He looked at me, Maybe I needed you to fail, because if you succeeded, it meant I'd built my life on sand. His voice shook. And you did succeed. Which means You're not weak for admitting it, I said softly. You're finally honest. Chloe sat on a bench. Her perfect posture broke. I'm not happy either, she whispered. The galas, the photos, the house. It's empty sometimes. Ryan and we've been in counseling for a year. Ryan closed his eyes, ashamed, but he didn't deny it. The confession cut through me sharper than any insult ever had. For the first time, I saw them not as enemies, but as people carrying their own cracked masks. Dad watched the fish circle, then turned to me with eyes clear for one rare moment. Different paths, he said slowly. All lonely, unless we walk together. His words left us quiet, staring at one another, walls trembling for the first time. That evening, we returned to my estate nearby. The helicopter lifted us from Cedar Ridge and set us down on manicured lawns that stretched toward the hills. The house rose in stone and glass, tall windows catching the sunset. 10 bedrooms, gardens, a private lake. Chloe's mouth dropped. Adam blinked, as if the world tilted sideways. Rick carried our bags inside. Margot, my assistant, waited with a tablet. Welcome home, she said to me, and smiled politely at the rest. Home? Chloe echoed. Yes, I said simply. 6 months ago. Bought in cash. Inside, the air smelled of polished wood and fresh flowers. A chandelier hung over the foyer. Chloe's heels clicked on marble. Adam touched the stair railing like he expected it to disappear. You live here? He asked, voice thin. Yes. Mom whispered, My Maya again, tears in her eyes. We gathered in the living room. Margot brought water and tea. Adam paced, binder forgotten. So all those years, when we thought you were broke. I was building, I said. You were busy proving yourselves right. I was busy making sure I'd never need your approval. Chloe shook her head, tears falling. You made us look like fools. No, I said. You did that yourselves. Every time you told me I couldn't. Every time you decided my worth before I spoke. The air was sharp with unspoken words. The house seemed to breathe around us, proof they couldn't dismiss. For once, I didn't need to raise my voice. The walls, the windows, the very ground beneath us shouted for me. The dining room table stretched under candlelight, plates of food set by Chef Thomas. My family sat in silence, still stunned by the weight of the day. Chloe's fork trembled as she moved salad across her plate. Adam drank water, like it was stronger. Mom kept looking around the room, whispering, beautiful, under her breath, as if she couldn't believe she belonged here. I stood at the head of the table, not to dominate, but to finally be seen. For years, I began, you measured success by jobs, titles, and houses. You thought possessions proved worth. But for me, it wasn't cars or clothes. It was building something that lasted. Adam raised an eyebrow, still defensive. But all this, he gestured at the house, isn't it possessions too? I nodded. Yes, but the house doesn't define me. The foundation does. The apartments I rebuilt for low-income families. The schools I funded. The medical wings I designed for dignity. This house is a place to gather. The rest is what I live for. Chloe's eyes glistened. You built all that, while we laughed at you. Yes, I said quietly, Because I learned early that if I waited for your approval, I'd never start. So I stopped waiting. The truth landed hard. But I didn't soften it. They needed to feel the weight of what they'd ignored. Dad surprised us all when he spoke, his voice trembling but steady. I thought stability was the goal. I thought marriage, careers, routines were the only paths. But Maya, you showed me courage looks different. He squeezed my hand. You showed me mine too late. Tears blurred my eyes. Not too late, Dad. You're here. You'll live in Cedar Ridge. You'll see the gardens bloom. That's why I built it. For you. The next morning, sunlight poured into the breakfast room. Pastries, fruit, and coffee filled the table. The heaviness of the night before had shifted. There was still shame, still pride, but something new had crept in. Curiosity. Chloe leaned forward. Tell me about the first house you bought. Her voice wasn't mocking. It was real interest. I smiled. It had mold in the ceiling and raccoons in the attic. Everyone said I was crazy, but I patched, painted, scrubbed. When it sold, I had my first profit. That profit became another house. And another. Adam rubbed his jaw. And you never borrowed from anyone? Never asked for help? I shook my head. Not after you all laughed at me. Every deal was my own sweat. Every dollar reinvested. That's why I guarded it so fiercely. If I told you then, you would have tried to control it, or worse, dismiss it. He exhaled, eyes on his coffee. You're right. I would have. Chloe glanced at Ryan. The galas I run. They feel hollow compared to this. I want to do something that matters. Could I volunteer at Cedar Ridge? I met her eyes. Yes, they'd love your energy. You could help with the art program. It would give you purpose beyond appearances. Ryan cleared his throat. I've been looking into ethical investments. Maybe I could redirect some of my work toward nonprofits. For once, I didn't feel like the outsider in my own family. For once, we were speaking the same language. Not money for show, but money with meaning. Mom dabbed her eyes with a napkin. All these years, we thought we knew best. But you were showing us another way. Yes, I said softly, and it isn't about who was right. It's about whether we can walk together now. That evening, we gathered on the terrace overlooking the lake. The air was cool, the sky painted in streaks of orange and pink. For the first time, our conversation flowed without judgment. Adam spoke about leaving his firm for teaching. Chloe shared her hope to step back from the social whirl. Even Ryan admitted he wanted to spend less time chasing numbers and more time building something good. Mom sipped her tea, her face soft. I used to pray you'd find your place, Maya. I see now you already had it. We just didn't open our eyes. I took a deep breath, feeling the years of pain lift like smoke. I carried the name family disappointment for so long, it almost felt true. But tonight proves something. Success isn't about who shouts loudest at the table. It isn't about the house, the cars, the titles. It's about building a life that matters and having the courage to live it, even when no one believes in you. Adam raised his glass. To courage. Chloe lifted hers. To second chances. Dad's voice cracked as he whispered, to our Maya. Tears welled in my eyes. For years, I dreamed of revenge, of shocking them into silence. But sitting here, I realized the shock wasn't the victory. The victory was connection. Authentic, fragile and real. As the sun sank, I looked around the terrace. My family, broken and mended in pieces, sat together not as judges, not as rivals, but as people trying again. True wealth wasn't measured in marble floors or helicopter blades. It was here, in this messy, tender moment of being seen and loved for who I truly was. And for the first time, I wasn't the disappointment anymore. I was simply Maya.